Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. We are financial advisors for all size investors. If you are investing $1 and that's how you're getting started, I promise we will treat you the same as if you're investing $1 million or you're close to retirement. We want to work with everybody, build a nice little base of customers here, take them from here to retirement and help them, of course, invest correctly, be as tax efficient as possible, and teach them along the way. We're a teaching financial firm, by the way. Well, today one of the things I'm going to teach you is not to fall for this thing that you should have $1 million in retirement. I say that with just a hint of aggravation because, look, it's a tough one. I get the argument, and of course I understand what people are talking about when they say that. I just want to show you a breakdown and the data to kind of show you why you may not want to do that. Now, in order to do this, first I'm going to have to make some assumptions, and you can disagree with the assumptions if you like, but I thought about you guys before I came up with these, so I'm going to try to help you out. All right, first, we're going to assume that you've already saved up $10,000. Doesn't matter what age you are, you already have 10 grand in the bank, in a Roth IRA, in your workplace retirement plan, traditional IRA, doesn't matter. We're going to assume that anything that we talk about from this point forward will average a 7% net return, right? Very simple, 7% net return. Average growth of the S&P 500 in its lifespan is 9.8%. Back out a little bit of inflation, you get 7%. However, we're even going to back out inflation again on top of it to help you because we're not going to assume 7% return each and every year. We're going to assume that that's the average, right? You're taking more risk when you're younger, less risk when you're older, and so we're blending it down to 7%. However, we are going to add 3% inflation yearly to every deposit that we have, okay? That means we're going to knock out inflation every year so we don't have to guess in the future, right? That makes this a lot tighter of an argument. It makes it almost a foolproof argument in my opinion. So we're also going to assume that you retire at 65. No matter what age we use in this example, we're using 65 as the age, and we're saying that you want to have $1 million inflation adjusted returns, okay? Inflation adjusted, meaning we adjusted for inflation along the way. You will end with $1 million in what $1 million could buy today. This actual number will be significantly higher, but it will have the same purchasing power as $1 million today. Very important distinction there because I'll tell you, every other advisor, you know what they do? They just say, let's figure that you need to save this much, and when you get to retirement, then we'll just figure out some sort of inflation adjustment there. It's too late. What happens if you guess too little or too high, right? So we're going to factor inflation at 3% a year, which is fair for right now, and you'll be at $1 million. So what do you have? Oh, 87. We're going to say that you retire at 65 and you live to be 87. That's important as well, right? So those are our assumptions, okay? And I'm going to go through a couple different ages here to help you out. If this were your goal, let's see what it would take with those assumptions there. Okay, here we go. If you're 25 years old, how much do you need to invest to get there? I don't care what account it is. It could be a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, doesn't matter to me. You have to invest, what is that? $28.96 this year or in the next 12 months, just depending on when you're watching this here. If you're 25 years old, invest $28.96 and then raise it by 3% a year. That's going to help you combat inflation. Now, if inflation happens to be a little higher one year, you could just raise that by that same amount. So this year, $28.96. Next year, $28.96 plus 3% to combat inflation. If you did that from 25 to 65, you would have a total of $1,057,591. Okay? There you go. Now, that's inflation adjusted. This $1 million, pretend that's in your bank right now. What could you do with the $1 million? In reality, so many years from now, 30 years, 50, 40 years from now, they're going to end up with a dollar amount that's much higher, okay? Now, that's 25. Stay with me for a second because I'm not going to leave you with just these numbers. We're going to take it a step further. All right, if you're 35, you need to invest a total of $6,669 and then raise it by 3%. Everybody's going to raise it by 3%, by the way, right? That's quite a difference. Look at the difference between waiting 10, freaking years. If you're 25, you had to do $2,896. I get it. That's harder for a 25-year-old. But if you're 35, now you got to do $6,669. This could be in a Roth. Like I said, doesn't matter. It could be that you put in some money into your 401k and then the employer matches some percent. 3%, 5%, whatever it happens to be. So either way, you're looking at $6,669, okay? I also did a 30-year-old. Let me squeeze them in there real quick. If you're 30 and you're like, ah, man, I'm not 25, I'm not 35, I'm 30 right in there, you're at $4,321. Same thing, you're going to raise it by the rate of inflation. Those are your numbers, okay? Let's do the 40-year-olds because brother's pushing 40 right here, right? So let's see. If I were to just start investing at the age of 40, holy cow, I'm glad this is not the case. I would have to put in a total of $10,805 into it and raise it by how much? 3% a year. What happens there? If I'm 40 years old, I mean, obviously, if you're just getting started with the assumptions that we used, you're going to end up with $1,017,875. $1,017,875 is what you're going to end up with. We've thrown around a lot of numbers here. What does that mean? Realistically, what are we talking about here? Because every one of you are probably watching this now going, yeah, okay, I can do that. I put some money in my 401k, I put some money in my traditional, whatever. I'll make it happen, Dustin. I'll get there and I'll have $1 million. I now have some bad news for you. Ready? How much money can you withdraw off of that and actually live? No, it's not 4%, right? How much money can you withdraw off of that and live? Remember, we said you're going to retire at 65, die at 87. In reality, it's December 31st in the year you turn 87, but whatever. So how much money can you pull out and not outlive your money? In the example of the 25-year-old, they had to invest a total of $28.96, right? And then when they retire, yep, they would have $1 million in today's purchasing power, but they could only take out $22,000 a year. How is that possible, right? What's the difference there? It's a little complex at this point, but so because of inflation, because of how long they're going in the future and how much these dollars actually turn into in reality, the purchasing power and everything like that, $22,000 is all you can live off of. Can you live off $22,000? No. But somebody said, if you take 4% out a year, figure, well, that's like 40 grand. If I had $1 million, I'm taking 40 grand out a year. I could do that. I could live off of that. The problem is you're not actually taking out only the growth. Most people can't do that. If you're creative, I'll give an example in another video, but if you're creative, you can get close to it. But the reality is if your investments grew only 5% in retirement, which is sort of, at this point, asking a little bit, that's kind of asking a lot, you end up with $22,000 a year you can take out. If you're 30, you just thought, holy cow, Dustin said if I put in $4,321, I'll have $1 million when I retire. Yeah, but you can only take out $24,500 a year when you retire. Now that's like in today's dollars. You're going to take out more dollars than that, but that's the buying power that you're taking out. So it puts your mind at right now going, if I stopped right now and had to live off $24,500 off my investments, could I do it? Maybe. If you had your house paid off, your car paid off, and if you had some health care figured out there, yeah, maybe you could do it, but it's not going to be fun. If you're 35 years old, I'll breeze through these here for you, $6,669. You can take a total of $28,000 a year. Hey, anybody want to guess in the comments below why this number's going up? Why is this number going up? Everybody's 65 at the same point, right? A little math riddle for you there. In 40 years old, these were the, $10,895, right? Was that the number? $10,805, sorry. And you can take out $33,000 a year. That's not too bad. What's the lesson of the story here? It's not about how much money you can take on a yearly basis, right? It's not about like hitting that number. where you say, I need to hit $1 million, I take my 4%, that's 40 grand, I'll never pull from the principal of my money. That is a beautiful math equation, but that does not work in real life. It's very difficult, right? It can be done, but it is extremely difficult yet to come across any retiree that has been able to do that themselves. So careful with that argument. The reality is the markets move up, the markets move down. And as the markets move down, you have to sell off some of those positions to pull your cash. When the markets move higher again, you have less position to grow your money, and thus you just took a hit, more of a drawdown on your investments. I know I oversimplified it. I'm sorry. As I'm saying it, I'm thinking of the topic for a good video here, and I'll be sure to cover it for you. But now you know, $1 million is not the goal. The income is the goal. You want to know how much income do you need to pull out? Who cares what the dollars are? As long as the dollars don't run out and you have enough income each year, you're good to go, right? Figure it out that way, see if that helps you, and if it does in some way, maybe you'll hit the subscribe button or give us some love down in the comment section. Or if you disagree with something, that's cool too. Just be nice. You could disagree with me. It might help us think of a better way to clarify some of these videos for you, and we're happy to do it. So enjoy. We'll talk to you later on the closing beat. Have a great day.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.